Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we're gonna solve Cambridge International ASNA level chemistry paper, which is 9701 22 Feb March 2025. Okay, so let's get started. Question 1. Phosphorus and chlorine are elements in period 3 of the periodic table. Chlorine forms three different compounds with phosphorus. The most common compounds are PCl3 and PCl5. So we need to complete the table. Over here, they have given us the compound. We need to find the oxidation number of P and oxidation number of chlorine. So over here, how to find the oxidation number of P? So we have an easy method to solve this. First is PCl3. Now for PCl3, we should know that phosphorus identification we don't know. The oxidation number we don't know. So we will keep this as X. Plus chlorine. Chlorine, you know that it's going to be 3 chlorine, and 1 chlorine indicates minus 1. There is a no charge on top, so it's going to be 0. So over here, if you would see, I'll get as x equals to plus 3. Same way, you will do it for PCl5. So for PCl5, I'm going to take the same thing, x plus 5 chlorine minus 1 equals to 0 because I don't have any charge on it. So this is going to be x equals to plus 5. Okay, so we have got the oxidation number of P, which is plus 3 and plus 5. And for chlorine, we have just now seen that we can write minus 1. We can also write as a Roman number, not an issue at all. Next question, question number 2. In a closed system, PCl3 and PCl5 exist in equilibrium mixture as shown in reaction 1. So this is my reaction 1, which is also showing as a enthalpy change as negative 124 kilojoule per mole, and negative means it's going to be exothermic reaction. Deduce two conditions that favor the production of PCl5 in reaction 1. So PCl5 acts as a product. So we need to deduce the condition. How can we get PCl5 as a majority? So over here we can see the condition from the pressure and from the temperature. So if I talk about the pressure, we will count the number of moles in each scenario. So if you would see in a reactant side liquid, we don't take. Gaseous we take. Okay, so 1 over here, because over here 1 is given to us. Over here solid we don't take. Okay, when we're talking about the pressure in terms of moles, we only take 1 is to 0. So over here 1 raised to 0 is already given to us. Whenever there is 1 and 0, we have to see in such a way where the pressure we have to take it higher. Why? Because it will go, the equilibrium will shift to that position where there is a less number of moles. So over here we can see there is a less number of moles for PCl5. So yes, we have to increase the pressure. Once we increase the pressure, the equilibrium will shift towards the right hand side, which will give me PCl5 production. Okay, so pressure needs to be high. Second is temperature. We know that increasing the temperature will favors the endothermic reaction. Endothermic means the backward reaction. But we don't want that. We want our production of PCl5 should be more. So we need to reduce the temperature so that it can oppose a change and move towards the forward direction. Okay, so which is nothing but the temperature low. So here the conditions would be pressure high and temperature low, and this is of 2 marks. Next question. The third compound of phosphorus and chlorine, W, has a relative molecular mass between PCl3 and PCl5. The compound contains 69.6% by mass of chlorine. Okay, so we have got two compounds already, PCl3 and PCl5. From that, we need to find the third compound, the molecular mass. So let's see. Over here, I have taken from the periodic table itself the AR of the phosphorus and chlorine. First, they have given to us as a chlorine, mass of chlorine. So can we find the phosphorus? Yes, we can. So mass of phosphorus 100 minus 69.6%. We'll get a 30.40%. Now we have to do mole ratio between the phosphorus and chlorine, which we can do it here. So over here we will see with the moles. So we will see mole ratio between phosphorus and chlorine. Now phosphorus, we have already got the percentage by mass, which is 30.4%, and the AR is 31, which gives me moles. And same goes with mass of chlorine, which we have already got 69.6, divide by AR, which is 35.5. Once you do the ratio, we will get 0.98 and 196. We will divide with the smallest number, which is 0.98. Divide both the side with 0.98 to get 1 is to 2. Now we have got the empirical formula, which is PCl2, P from 1 and Cl2 from chlorine. Now we have been asked us that we need to provide the molecular formula. The molecular formula is means what? Molecular formula is nothing but empirical formula of double. Okay, so we have to double the empirical formula. Whatever empirical formula we get, we have to double it. So P will be turning out to be P2 and Cl2 will be turning out to be Cl4. So your final molecular formula of W is nothing but P2Cl4. Okay, so it's quite easy to find out the third compound, and this will give you 2-mark question. Okay, next question. W is a liquid at room temperature and pressure. It reacts vigorously with water to form an acidic solution. Suggest the structure and bonding in W. Explain your answer. So whenever they ask you structure and bonding, we need to talk about the forces between the molecules. So we already know that all these PCl2, PCl4, all these are the molecular structure, right? So they are simple molecular structure due to weak intermolecular forces, or you can also write low melting point. Now second, we talk about the bonding. Bonding, why? Because P2Cl4 shows covalent bonding and it can easily hydrolyze with water, and that's the reason we can see in the question itself, it reacts vigorously with water to form what? Acidic solution. So we write two statement which can give us two answer, which is 2-mark answer. Okay. Next question. Now they have given us the reaction scheme. In that we have got a flow chart. With the same system, we have to understand which are the things which have been involved here. So as we can see, P4 is involved and chlorine is involved. So let's see. Over here they have given us P4. So I'll take the compound now. Now in reaction 1, they have given us P4 and it's reacting with excess of oxygen, okay, to give me A as a product. Then again P4 is reacting with chlorine, which is reaction number 2. Reaction number 1 they have not given. Directly they have given reaction number 2. Reaction number 1, yes, they have given. Reaction number 1 is here, which we have seen. Okay, this is reaction number 1. Okay, PCl3. They have taken PCl3, excess of chlorine, which we get PCl5. So PCl5 we have got here. So directly reaction 2 they have given to us. And then reaction 3, then reaction 4, 5 and then 6. Okay, so how is it going into the flow, that we have to check. So let's see for reaction number 2. As you can see, PCl3 is going to be in an excess to get PCl5. Directly we have got here, which is in excess. Okay, which is phosphorus pentachloride. Okay, this is phosphorus pentachloride, and this actually gives me around yellow green color. Okay, so this is yellow green color gas, which actually disappears with time. So this is the observation which you can see. Now for reaction 3, they have given us the excess of oxygen. Okay, so when phosphorus reacts with oxygen, so we get as P4 oxygen 10. That means P4O10. So this is your product A. Okay, this is also called as phosphorus oxide, and this is nothing but in white solid. Then let's check for reaction number 4. Now, okay, let's check for reaction number 5 only. So if you would see here, P4O10, when it reacts with water, this will give me phosphoric acid, which I'll write as H3PO4, and it is also called as phosphoric acid. Okay, you can also write phosphoric 5 acid. Okay. Now over here, if you would see PCl5 when reacts again with water, so I'm gonna get the same thing as phosphoric acid. Okay, so let's see for the reaction 6. Over here we can see that we have got as a chloroalkane group. So whenever in organic synthesis we do any such kind of reaction, we see what kind of halogen alkane or maybe some other parts of reactant we are using. So over here we are getting as chloroalkane. Okay, so we can see that we got as PCl3 and PCl5, correct? So once we deal with this alcohol, okay, we get what? Chloroalkane. So over here they might have used C as alcohol. So how will I write alcohol over here? So alcohol, what happens? OH group gets replaced by Cl. So over here the strand remains the same. Okay, 1 2 3 bonds remains the same. Instead of chlorine, I'll add OH. So from the OH we get what? Chloroalkane. Now let's see the question. Suggest what is observed in reaction 2. As you can see, in reaction 2 we have got as green color disappears. Yes, yellow green color disappears. Okay, predict the shape of a molecule of PCl5. So it's a trigonal pyramidal. Why? Because phosphorus comes under group number 15, which has 5 valence electron in its outermost shell. So it will combine with 5 Cl bond. Okay, now if you see the structure, okay, it comes as bipyramidal geometry. And if I want to talk about the hybridization, so as you know that it's going to have a 5 bonds. 5 bonds means 5 lines you can also take. The first line always comes from the S, 3 comes for P, and rest comes from D. So you can see we have S1, P3 and D1, which gives me what? 5 bonds, and this is nothing but sp3 hybridization. This is how you can able to check with the hybridization, and it consists of 120 degree and 90 degree. Next question, write an equation for the formation of A in the reaction. Now let's see A, I have already informed that P4 reacts with oxygen, will get what? P4O10. So you can balance out, you will get 5 as a answer, 5O2. Okay, so this is your third question. Name B, which is formed in both reaction 4 and 5. Okay, in both the reaction 4 and 5, we are going to get only one product which called as H3PO4, and also we get the HCl, but we don't write that. We get H3PO4, which is phosphoric acid. Draw the structure of C used in reaction 6. So if you would see here, reaction 6, we get chloroalkane while using alcohol. So you will write the same thing over here. You can write in CHOH, CH2, CH2OH. But over here, the question has been asked in skeletal diagram. They have given a skeletal diagram. So you will also write in skeletal diagram only. Okay. So here we'll give you 1 mark answer. Next question. 1,2-dichloroethane reacts with NaOH to produce unsaturated compound as shown in reaction number 7. Now this is a reaction number 7. As you can see, it is coming from the halogen alkane. Okay. And it reacts with the NaOH. Now it depends the medium. Is it going to be an acidic medium or alkaline medium? Okay. Or ethanolic medium. That depends. So we can see that over here reaction in the product we get as water and NaCl as a salt. So state what is meant by unsaturated. Unsaturated is nothing but which contains double bond. Okay, carbon contains double bond or triple bonds. That is nothing but the unsaturated compound. State the condition for the reaction 7. So reaction 7, what is the condition? As I told you, every part, every reagent will bring upon the different condition. Over here, once we are getting the unsaturated compound, okay, from the halogen alkane to unsaturated compound, we always take the condition as ethanolic group, which is ethanol, which act as a solvent. And of course, we're going to heat it in water bath. Why? Because obviously it has a low boiling point, and that's the reason we do it in the water bath. So the final answer is ethanolic solvent, or you can also say ethanolic NaOH. Both will work. Next question, compound D contains carbon, hydrogen and chlorine only. Okay, so they have given us CHCl, okay, in this compound, the whole compound D. So first we'll see from the mass spectrum what exactly they have given us and what we can able to find out from here. Okay, so first thing, as you can see, we have got the percentage abundance at 100 degree 100%, which is peak 1, and peak 2 they have given us this. Okay, so we can named as molecular ion peak M plus. This next to it is going to be M plus 1, and the next one is m plus 2. The question talk about mass to charge ratio. They have also given, okay, they have given percentage abundance. Now explain the relative abundance of peak 1 and 2 in the mass spectrum. So 1 we have already got, we can see from here it's going to be 100%. From here we can identify the next one, which is, let's see, this is 2 they are asking us, so we will check for 2. You will make a straight line here, okay. So it's coming around 33, right? 33, yes. So we can write that it's nothing but mass to charge ratio is nothing but 100 is to 33. Okay. So ratio between m plus and m plus 2 peak would be 100 raised to 33. That is nothing but 3 raised to 1, which is a ratio, which also indicates that we have one compound for sure, which is chlorine atom. So from here we can identify that this compound 2 or compound D has molecular mass as 60. Second, we know that this compound will consist of chlorine. As you know that it's going to be a ratio of 3 raised to 1. 3 raised to 1 also give me the chlorine. Chlorine can be isotope of 35 or 37, that we will find out which one. And chlorine we have got as only one atom. Okay, let's see how. Next question, suggest the structure of D. So we need to do a trial and error method to find out the structure. So see, first thing we must know the main compound, which is MR. MR they have given us as 60. As you can see, it's 100%, right? 100% abundance. So MR is for sure 60. So I'll write here 60. We have the atom carbon, hydrogen and chlorine, out of which we got to know from this ratio as chlorine is only 1. So let's check and do a trial and error method here. So let's see, if the chlorine is 1, chlorine will come out to be 35. You know that, right? So let's see, chlorine comes out to be 35, right? Let's take 35 and total is 60. So 60 minus 35, still we are getting as 25. So 25 can be of hydrogen or Cl. No, hydrogen and carbon. Cl we already got. So for the carbon, carbon we know that the AR of carbon is nothing but 12. Okay. Now what if I add one more carbon, then? So it's going to be 24 from carbon, right? Let's check if I have got 24. Yes, as you can see here, at 24, 21, 22, 20, 24, we are getting one peak over here, which is of 24. So we can identify from here itself that it consists two carbon atom from here. All right. So we can get two carbon atom. The remaining one is one. Still, we are remaining with one, and one is nothing but coming from hydrogen. So we have got this from chlorine 35. We have got this from carbon and this from hydrogen. So let's see, carbon, how many carbon? Two carbon, right? So let's draw the structure and get an idea what exactly it is. So carbon, carbon, with carbon there is one hydrogen, which we have got here, and one chlorine. Now you know that carbon will be having a four bonds, right? So let's complete this bond. So one bond is already been made with hydrogen and chlorine. So three are still remaining. So we are getting this triple bond. Okay. Now let's verify it whether we have got the correct one or no. All right. So let's assume if this is a 35 isotope. Okay. Let's assume if this is a 35 as an isotope, and this whole molecular mass is nothing but 60. Right. Now, what if I take as 60, and let's do the fragmentation here so that we can understand fragmentation. Let's do from here. Okay. So we can do it from here to get as, I'll take another color. So we can write this as C plus. Okay. C plus we can take triple bond C and Cl. So from here I can get Cl. Cl is how much? 35. 35 plus 24, which gives me 59. right? And plus H peak. Okay, this H peak is still remaining. So 59. Am I getting any peak at 59? Yes, we can see here I am getting peak at 59 as well. So 60, from 60 we can get the fragmentation of 59, which has been shown here. So yes, we can say that this compound, the structure which we have got as B, is correct. Okay, so this is how you can confirm. All right, from the another pick as well, which is a over here. If you can see, if I break the bond from here like this, okay, if I do the fragmentation of Cl with this compound, so over here I'm gonna get 24 with carbon, 2 carbon 24 and plus 1 25. So I have to see the peak if peak is present for 25. As you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So yes, we can get the peak at 25 also. So we can confirm that the correct answer is this. Okay. So final answer is this. Question number 2. Group 2 elements show metallic bonding. Define metallic bonding. Electrostatic attraction between the positive metal ions, cations, and delocalized electrons, that also you can write for a metallic bonding. Okay, so there is a it is a metallic bonding where the electrostatic attraction will take place with the positive metal ions and delocalized electron. Okay. Okay. Next question. The group 2 elements form stable 2 plus cation. State and explain the variation in ionic radius of group 2 elements down the group. So as you know that down the group atomic size increases, correct? Atomic size increases, that means we're talking about the ionic radius also increases. So down the group ionic radius increases, and we can also say the shielding effect also increases. Why? Because the nucleus is away from the outermost electron, and that is why shielding effect is more. All right, and because of that you can also say that ionic radius increases, and also the charge, okay, charge of the nucleus towards the outermost electron decreases. So that's how the pointers you can put it up for question number B1. Next question. So they have given us the successive ionization energy values for beryllium. Beryllium atomic number is 4. So ionization energy they have given for first, second, third, and fourth. Ionization energy means how much amount of energy is required to remove the outermost electron. Okay, so this is a last shell, this is a second last shell, this is a third last shell, and this is a fourth last. That means the inner shell I'm talking about, the first outermost shell. All right, so let's see, then I'll tell you about this. So general trend you have to write for this values, and also we need to write the significance of the large difference between second and third. As you can see, it is from 1760 to 14800. Okay, so as you know that successive ionization obviously increases due to less shielding effect. Why? Because the electrons are removed. Okay, and the electrons are removed, so shielding effect becomes less. Why? Because the ionic radii became less. Now over here they are asking me about the large difference between second and third. As you can see, so large difference between second and third. Why? Because it's coming from the third shell outermost, not outermost, the inner shell electrons. So as you can see here, beryllium is atomic number 4, so it's 1s2 and 2s2. Okay, so first electron will be coming out from this one, 2s2. So this is 900. Second is coming from 1760. Okay, from this s orbital. Now for the second orbital, for the s, third one will be coming from here. Okay, and third and fourth. So over here they are showing us, because of the third, it is coming from the third inner shell, and that is why we can see the difference. Why? Because third shell is actually, the innermost third shell is near to the nucleus, so it will have more energy to remove the electron. Okay, so this is how you have to talk about. Now the next question. See, all the group 2 elements except beryllium have more than one stable isotope. Beryllium exists as a single isotope, 9 beryllium 4. Describe distribution of mass within an atom of 9,4 beryllium. So, when we talk about the distribution of mass, we know that all the mass is actually distributed in the nucleus. Okay, neutron plus proton, because electron has a negligible mass. So, as we can see here, I'll write for beryllium. Beryllium comes with the 4 proton and 5 neutrons, which gives me around 9. Okay, now 9 as a mass number. Most of the mass are found in the nucleus, and that is why we can say the distribution of mass happens in the nucleus itself, and there you can get 2 marks. Complete the table to show the number of protons and neutrons in the isotopes of magnesium. Now for magnesium, you know that it's going to be 12 Mg24. 12 is the atomic number, mass number is 24, that you can get it from the periodic table. So these are the isotopes 24, 25, 26. As you know that isotope will be having same number of protons and electrons but different number of neutrons. So same number of protons, so over here proton is nothing but the atomic number, is nothing but the electron number. So if it's 12, then everything represent as 12, proton and electron as well. Neutron will change, so mass number minus proton, which gives me number of neutron. 25 minus 12 gives me 13. 26 minus 12, which gives me 14. So here we can complete our table based on number of protons and number of neutrons. Next question. Shows the behavior of the beam of proton in an electric field. To show the behavior of separate beams of neutrons and electrons in the same electric field, label your diagram clearly. Assume that the beam of each particle are moving at same velocity. So if the particle is moving with the same velocity, we need to put the same line. So I'll take this first as a neutron. Over here they have already given us a proton, which is actually getting attracted towards the negative electrode, because it's a proton is what, positive, right? So this is negative electrode and this is positive electrode. So let's draw the diagram. So we need to show the neutron, the beam of neutron and the beam of electron. Beam of proton they have already given. So first we will make the beam of neutron. So I'll take one line from here. Okay. So from this source itself we have to take a one straight line. Why? Because you know that neutron doesn't have any charge, it is a neutral, and that's the reason we're gonna show a straight line. It will not get deflected, so it will not get deflected anywhere, so we're gonna have a straight line. So I can write beam of coming from neutrons. Okay, now talking about the electron, now electron will deflect more as compared to proton. Why? Because electron mass is negligible, or you can say lesser than the proton. So we have to show the curve in such a way where deflection is more towards the positive electrode. So this is nothing but beam of electrons. So yes, we have shown all the beam of neutron, electron and neutron. So this is how you will get 3 marks over here. Alright. Yes. So next question. D1. State what is observed when dilute hydrochloric acid is added to separate sample of barium oxide and barium carbonate. So first thing, we need to show the observation when you are reacting the barium oxide. First is barium oxide, which is of solid. Okay, this is in solid state at standard room temperature and pressure. When it deals with hydrochloric acid, we are going to get the barium chloride and water, and barium oxide is nothing but consist of white solid, and this solid will disappear. Okay, once you add with the HCl and once you form the barium chloride, it will start disappearing. All right, now when we observe the same thing with barium carbonate, along with the dilute hydrochloric acid, we're gonna get barium chloride H2O plus carbon dioxide. Why? Because our anions is nothing but the carbonate. Whenever we have a carbonate, for sure carbon dioxide will get released. Okay, so carbon dioxide will get released in a form of what? Bubbling effect, or maybe you can say effervescence, or you can also say solid disappears. All right, and this will give you 2 marks. Question second. Write an equation for the reaction of strontium with an excess of cold water. So strontium, we can take excess of cold water, we will add, and this will give us nothing but the hydroxide ions. along with the hydrogen gas. So over here, as you can see, strontium comes under which group? It comes under group 2. So group 2 metals reacts with water to form metal hydroxide along with that hydrogen gas liberation. So we can add over here OH as the hydroxide ions, and over here hydrogen gas. Say the variation solubility of the group 2 sulfates down the group. So we need to talk about the variation depending upon the solubility with sulfate. So down the group solubility decreases. Okay. So this is of question D, which is of in total 17 marks. Next question. The halogens chlorine, bromine and iodine show trends in chemical and physical properties down the group. Table shows some properties of chlorine, bromine and iodine. So over here they have already given us. As you can see, the property in room temperature, say it as color or state. So chlorine will show green gas, bromine will show brown liquid. Okay, it exists in brown liquid. Iodine exists in solid. Okay, so as we go down the group, it starts from gas to liquid, liquid to solid. Also, we know that bond energy decreases down the group of talking about the halogen atoms. Electronegativity also decreases down the group. The most high electronegativity is nothing but the fluorine. Okay, and this is the sodium halide formula dealing with the different halogen: sodium chloride, sodium bromide, and sodium iodide. So they are asking us complete the table, which we did already. The bond energy values in table refer to XX bond, where X is the halogen. XX means if I take Cl to Cl bond. If I'm taking bromine, so Br bond. Okay. Explain the trend in the bond strength of the XX bond in the halogen. So as you all know, down the group atomic size increases. All right. So as the atomic size increases, the bond length increases, right? So if the bond length increases, suppose there's a nucleus and this is the atomic size, the bond length increases, right? Which makes them a weaker. It can easily break down. More the longer bond or length of the bond is longer, your bond weakness will be higher. Also, the bond strength decreases because of this reason. So you can add two things. One is based on the atomic size, another would be bond length. Next question. Explain with the use of an equation how chlorine Cl2 is used in water purification. Now, water purification they have asked. So we need to state the role of the active species produced. So first we will deal chlorine with water, right? Because they have asked. Now, when chlorine reacting with water, it will give us HCl and HOCl. HOCl is nothing but act as, because we need to talk about the role. This kills bacteria and also act as a oxidizing agent. Okay, so this is what you can write. For C1, the sodium halide also shows trends in chemical properties. Okay, identify sodium halide that reacts with concentrate H2SO4 to form H2S. Now, say over here, when H2SO4 turn out to be H2S, that means the reduction is taking place over here. All right, it reduces basically. How it reduces? If you would see the sulfur sulfur oxidation number is +6. It's going from +6 to -2. So it has been getting reduced. Okay, it getting reduction, and reduction is there. And why it is there? Why? Because as you move down the group in the halogen, the reducing power of the halogen increases. So as I can say that down the group reducing power increases. If down the group in the halogen group reducing power increases, the down the group iodine is consist of. So iodine will be a powerful reducing agent. So we can write which sodium halide? We can say sodium iodide. Okay. We can also write as strongest reducing agent. All right, so this is how you have to see and identify. First, what you will see, how this oxidation state number is getting affected. If it's reducing, it is oxidizing, and then you will decide the reducing power, and accordingly you will write the sodium halide, which halide is present, whether it is fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine. Next question. Identify the sodium halide that only undergoes a bronzed-lauric acid based reaction. This is nothing but the protonation. Okay. That means proton transfer take place here. with concentrated H2SO4. So I have done the reaction for you. So NaCl, okay, sodium halide. Now NaCl reacting with H2SO4, which give us nothing but the HCl NHSO4, which gives us nothing but the sodium chloride. So sodium chloride is a sodium halide that only undergoes Bronsted-Lowry acid base reaction with the sulfuric acid. This is the only one which we have done. You can see this in the notes itself. In the notes itself, we are getting the same equation again and again. Okay, similar concept been used. Next question, third. A student adds a few drops of silver nitrate to a solution of sodium bromide. State what is been observed. So over here, as you can see, AgNO3 we have taken. We have also taken the sodium bromide. So NaBr plus silver nitrate, which gives us nothing but the silver bromide, and silver bromide gives us nothing but cream PPT. So you should know the qualitative analysis where each halide ions will give different colors. Chloride will give white color, bromide will give green PPT, and iodide will give yellow PPT. So same way, similar way, we can able to find out the different halides giving the different PPT, which is precipitate. Next question, D. Iodine monobromide IBR is a dark red solid that melts near room temperature. IBR reacts with propene. Okay, so IBR is reacting with propene. It's similar like HBr, okay, which we can see from Markovnikov rule. The mechanism for this reaction is the same as the mechanism for that of HBr with propene. Okay, identify all the intermolecular forces that exist between the IBR. Now when I talk about IBR, I'm talking about the covalent bond, right? So any covalent bond, any structure of covalent bond, if you see, that's for sure that's going to have IdId and permanent dipole moment depending upon what we are taking. Now if we see about the IdId, it's called as instantaneous dipole induced dipole. Any covalent bond will have the intermolecular force of forces will be IdId. And talking about IBR, they have a different electronegativities, and that's the reason they have are polar covalent. So over here, what we say it as, it is called as permanent dipole or permanent dipole moment. You can also say PDPD. Okay, so this is the first identification for the intermolecular forces. Next, name the mechanism involved in the reaction of IBR with propene. Okay, so whenever there is a propene, which is an alkene group, and alkene group is nothing but, we'll say it as addition reaction, which is an electrophilic addition reaction. Okay, because we are generating electrophile, and because of that we are going to attack the alkene group, which is the propene. So this is the electrophilic addition reaction. Talking about the reaction of IBR with propene forms two structural isomers. Draw the two structural isomers shown by these molecules. These are the two structural isomers. But before that, you should know how these structural isomers have come up. So this shows basically a Markovnikov rule. So I'll show you how. I'll write propene here. Okay, CH3, CH, CH2. This is a propene, correct? And it is dealing with IBR. So if I see IBR, the most electronegative is who? Negative Br, and electropositive is partial positive will come to I, because electron will pull towards the bromine and it will create partial negative on the bromine and partial positive on I. This one is also called as electrophile, right? The electrophile has generated. This will also behave as a nucleophile. Now, talking about the equation, what will happen? So you already know that it follows the Markovnikov rule. So Markovnikov rule says that it's going to have two products. That is, one is major product and one is minor product. Talking about the major product, what will happen? Over here, wherever there is a major product, so this negative or electronegative ion, or I can say nucleophile, will attack to those carbon atom which has less number of hydrogen. Okay, what Markovnikov rule says, the negative ion, which is a nucleophile, will attack to those carbon or get attached to those carbon which has less hydrogen. Okay, so the structure, the final structure would be CH3, C, over here I am going to get Br, over here H, right, CH2, and this I, this I which act as a electrophile get attached to the higher number of hydrogen bonds. Okay, so this one will be I. So I can write this as I can write this as H. And this is nothing but my major product. And this actually forms as 90%. That is why it is called as major product. Now, secondly, if I talk about the minor product, it is also called as a anti-Markovnikov rule. What does it says? It says that the negative nucleophile will attack to that carbon atom who has more number of hydrogen atom. So over here, if you would see, this will be CH3, CH, I, and of course I will go towards the less hydrogen atom, and this will have CH2 and Br. So over here it's going to be minor product 10%. Okay, so this is how the two structural isomers will be formed. If I want to write this in a skeletal diagram, I can write this in a skeletal diagram as well. Okay, how? So I'll write it here. So if you see here, this is going to be C, CH, and with this we have Br. This is CH2 again, and this is I. So this is the first structural isomer which you can get. Skeletal diagram also you can make. For this one, what I'll write, CH3, H, CH2, and Br, and this will be I. Okay, so we got two major products. One is the major product which is called as 90%. Okay, and this is a minor product which follows Markovnikov and anti-Markovnikov rule. Okay, so as per this question, I have already done it over here. This is Markovnikov follows, and this is anti-Markovnikov. Okay, identify two type of structural isomerism shown by the molecule in D3. So as you can see, it's a positional isomer. Why? Because the functional group are being present differently, and that is why the positions are different. And with their positions are different, we can say it as this is nothing but the position isomers or positional isomers. Now explain why the two structural isomers do not form in equal amount. So over here, if you would see secondary carbocation, or you can say the intermediate which we can get after the attack of the nucleophile and electrophile, what will happen? It will create a carbocation, right? So secondary carbocation intermediate is more stable due to positive inductive effect of electron donating alkyl group. Now what does it mean? It means, I'll show it over here only. So what happened here? First of all, we get CH3, CH, and CH2, correct? So let's assume what will happen here. In this propene, this pi bond will break and it probably come here. So if it comes here, so it show it as CH3, C, right? CH minus, because the pi electron has been shifted towards the carbon atom, and this will be electron deficient. Okay, and this is nothing but the primary carbocation. How? How will you identify primary carbocation? Because if you would see next to the carbocation, there is only one alkyl group which is atom, which is CH group, one carbon atom, and that's how you can able to identify. We can able to identify, yes, this is for primary carbocation. All right. For the next one, what we can do is there might be a possibility where the pi bond can shift towards CH2, right? Over here, if I see like this can shift over here. So this will form as CH3, CH. This will be now electron deficient. This will be electron rich, right? And this is how you will form. And this is nothing but the secondary carbocation. Secondary carbocation. And also we can see that secondary carbocation are more stable. Why? Because we have two electron donating group, which is CH3 also and this also. We have two electron donating group, and that is why we can say it is a secondary carbocation. But over here we have only one who is donating, okay, which also shows inductive effect. And inductive effect is nothing but the positive inductive effect. Why positive? Because it's donating group, not withdrawing group. All right. So that is why it is secondary carbocation is more stable than the primary carbocation, and that is why over here also we can get a major product because it's a secondary carbocation which we are going to form. Okay. So this is how the Markovnikov rule come to an existence, where we talk about how these alkene group can broken down, and it follows the Markovnikov rule. All right, so this question is for 2 marks. Now next question. So question number 4, 4.1 shows compound J2M, each of which contains 4 carbon atom. Okay, so let me first draw it here, or maybe right here, so that you can understand what kind of structure we do have. So this is CHO group, which is aldehyde. Okay, this is carbonyl group, or you can also say ketone, because 2 alkyl groups are attached. This is alcohol, and this is carboxylic acid. Carboxylic acid. Okay, so if you would see for the first one, acidified K2Cr2, which is dichromate, potassium dichromate in aqueous. So we need to talk about the observation of positive result. So as you can see that over here, we're going to have the compounds that gives a positive result is J and L. They have already given us J and L, which is aldehyde and alcohol. So the only thing which can get oxidized over here is aldehyde and alcohol, not the ketone and carboxylic acid. And when we see the potassium chromate, this chromate will change from orange to green. Okay, so this is the result. All right, for aldehyde also and for the carboxylic also. So the observation will be orange to green because it get oxidized. Now, alkaline I2, which is iodoform reaction, which gives PPT, it only gives when we have the structure as ketone and alcohol. So, if you have a ketone and alcohol, you can get the yellow PPT using the iodoform reaction. So, how to identify when you have CH3, CH, and OH group? Okay, you can also talk about CH3 and directly CO group. So if you form or if you get any product which is related to CH3, CH2OH, or CH3 and directly CO, you can get K and L, which is nothing but the ketone and alcohol, and that can be identified and using the reagent as iodine, that is in the aqueous state. Now, when I talk about orange PPT, they have given us J and K. Orange PPT, J and K, which is aldehyde and ketone. We know that the test for the aldehyde group is nothing but 2,4-dinitrophenylhydrazine. We use this test to identify the aldehyde and ketone, which gives me orange PPT. Okay, so if you get orange PPT as an observation as a positive result, so this is the answer. Okay. Now next, over here they have given us as sodium. So sodium as a reagent we add once we get the alcohol and carboxylic acid. So L is alcohol and M is carboxylic acid. We usually do these type of tests on and we get the product as the positive result as for alcohol and the carboxylic acid, and in a presence of effervescence, or you can also get bubbles of gas. Okay, so this is the answer, and we can able to identify which is of total 5 marks. Okay, so we are done with this paper. I hope you have understood. If you want to be updated based on the upcoming papers, so kindly like, share and subscribe, and I'll keep posted. Thank you.